Well, hi there, and welcome to episode 94 of Canadian Profits TV. This is Dave Dubeau, your host, and today for our business breakthrough, I'm going to share some lessons from the food court with you. That's right, the food court. Major business lesson I just had reinforced recently there. For a real estate tip, we're going to talk about niche markets within small towns, something a lot of us, myself included, don't think about very often. And for our mindset minute, we're going to be talking about how are you smart. All right, stay tuned. Thanks. All right, for this week's business breakthrough, I want to share a story with you from my recent speaking engagement at the Vancouver Investor Forum in Vancouver. Makes sense, it was in Vancouver. Anyhow, I was getting ready for the speaking thing and trying to find some breakfast early in the morning for myself and my wife, and we had the kids there with us. And I went through, this was at the convention center in Vancouver, and it's attached to a food court underneath the street. You go there, and it was like very early in the morning. I'm talking about like 6:30, before 7 o'clock in the morning. First of all, I was surprised the food court was even open. But there were only a couple of food places open at that time of the day. And I wanted to get some fresh fruit and juices and that kind of thing. And it looked like the options were pretty slim. But as soon as I walked in there, there was a gentleman there at a pita place. Pita, P-I-T-A, Pita Express. His name's Alberto. And he calls out, he says, "Hey, mister, fresh hot breakfast, really good fresh eggs." Now, I wasn't into eggs, didn't want eggs, but he definitely got my attention. So I started looking over there, and he started chit-chatting with me and interacting with me. And sure enough, he had fresh squeezed orange juice and fresh fruit salads. And about $40 later, off I walked with breakfast for the gang. And it got me thinking. I went back to the food court a couple of times during the weekend. And every time there was Alberto going back and forth with people and yelling out and just interacting with folks. And it was, for a second, I was thinking, geez, this guy's kind of annoying. But then I stepped back and looked at it from a marketing standpoint and thought, no, this guy's really, really bright, because his food stand was way busier than anything else that was going on there. Turns out this gentleman's from Lebanon originally. If you've ever been to a Middle Eastern market or watched them on TV or anything like that, you know that it's very loud and there's lots of interaction, and that's just the way they do things. We're much more reserved here in Canada. However, he brought that tradition over with him, and he's kicking butt with it. So he had way, way more food court customers than anybody else, including some of the big name chains that were in there. And it's all because of his banter and going back and forth, and the fact that he served really good food too. So he's self-promoting, he's out there, and if you think about it, how much do these guys have to pay in rent downtown Vancouver to have one of these little food places? It's got to be crazy. So if he doesn't hustle like that, he's basically not going to be making a living. So it's all about marketing, it's all about hustle, it's all about not being shy. I think it was Zig Ziglar, the late Zig Ziglar, he just passed away very recently, said, shy salespeople have skinny kids. All right, and he meant that in a bad way. I mean, they don't make enough money to put food on the table. So if you're in business for yourself, be loud, be proud, and self-promote. That's your business breakthrough for today. All right, so for today's real estate tip, I want to talk about niches in smaller towns, smaller communities. So again, this came forth when I did an interview with our Canadian Profits member, Gary Spencer Smith from Port Alberni, small town, Vancouver Island, about 18,000 people. And he was talking about how he focuses on very specific neighborhoods within that small city. So it's not like he's looking for houses all over town. He'll consider things, but he's really, really focusing on just certain neighborhoods, certain areas of town. Now, there's a lot of smart real estate investors on Vancouver Island, because I remember hearing this from Julie Broad and her partner Dave Peniak, who are in Nanaimo as well. They're real estate investors, real estate trainers, and they talk about how in Nanaimo, which is a bigger city, they too only focus on very specific neighborhoods within that city. So Gary was doing this because the city he's in is kind of flat. The real estate market's pretty flat. However, these specific areas that he's focusing on have rising prices within the city. So just because the global outlook in that whole town looks bleak doesn't mean that every area is bleak. There are neighborhoods that are increasing in value. So that's your real estate tip for this week. All right, so for our mindset minute, I want to talk a little bit about how you are smart, how I'm smart, how everybody's smart. Because a lot of us, I have found over the years, tend to think of ourselves as being stupid or being unintelligent or being dumb. And this is kind of drilled into us by our results, our memories of our results from school. So myself, I did all right in school up until about high school, then I started fooling around. Did all right in school, could have done all right in university. I was just lazy. But I knew how to work the system. And IQ tests and the scholastic system only focus on 3 out of our 9 possible intelligences. And we all have all 9 to one degree or another. We have dominant intelligences and we have less dominant intelligences. The school system only focuses on 3 kinds of intelligences: mathematical and logical intelligence, verbal linguistic intelligence, I did okay with that one, body kinesthetic intelligence, so that'd be physical education. Those are kind of the 3 areas they focus on in school. And if you take an IQ test, it's even more specific. It's really just the mathematical, logical, and the verbal linguistic that they're really focusing on for IQ tests. So if you didn't do that well in school or you didn't do that well on an IQ test, there's still a lot of hope for you, because it could be that you're artistic. You've got artistic and visual intelligence. Picasso, for example. Musical intelligence. So all your favorite musicians, their primary intelligence lies in that department. Intrapersonal intelligence. So what does that mean? That means that you understand yourself very, very well. You're kind of an introverted person. You like to be really connected with yourself and your own feelings and how you deal with the world. Then there's interpersonal intelligence as well, which is dealing with other people. And that's probably the highest paid intelligence there is. Salespeople come to mind for that. People who can interact well with other folks, leaders of all kinds, have strong interpersonal intelligence. Naturalistic intelligence, so with Mother Nature, being very smart about the outdoors. And then one more, which is spiritual intelligence, which is being very, very connected with your source, whatever that might be for you. So just because you didn't do well in school doesn't mean you're not smart. You're just smart in a very different way. And the suggestion is find out what way or what ways you are intelligent and focus on those instead of focusing on your weaknesses. That's your mindset minute for this week. All right, thanks a lot for tuning into this week's episode of Canadian Profits TV. Just a reminder, we're getting into the middle of December. This has actually been pre-recorded. Hopefully we got some videos coming in from my trip to California. Wrapped up my event with James Malinchak. Reminder to all our rent-to-own cash-on-demand students, the next rent-to-own boot camp, R2O Profits Boot Camp, is coming up in Kamloops January 25th, 26th, and 27th. If you're a current R2O student, you get to come for free with a guest, and check that out at r2oprofitssummit.com. If you're not an R2O student, but you'd like to be one, check that out there for a special offer to come to that as well. And we will talk to you next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.